So my mom's third husband was a really good guy when he was sober. And we lived in Farmington, New Mexico, and he worked on that big power plant out by Shiprock. He put in all the fiberglass insulation. So very brutal work. And when he got off and got paid on Fridays, he would usually stop at a bar on the way home. And when he got drunk, that's when really, really bad things would happen. And so I got used to paydays being the day that we got out of the house. And so we'd go to the movies at first, but then that didn't work very well. So then eventually we would just go to a hotel in Farmington, which was like totally awesome to go to a hotel in the city where you live and stay overnight. But then that didn't work out so good. So eventually my mom would drive us from Farmington to Mancos, Colorado, about an hour away from Farmington, where my grandma lived, and I loved it. I remember I would wake up in the morning and I would hear these strange voices downstairs, and I would go downstairs, and it would be these strangers that she would just let sleep on the back porch of her house, because she ran the Mancos Hotel and Cafe, and when that would fill up and all the hotels would fill up, she would just let them stay there. And my grandpa ran the Columbine Bar, and her house was across the street from the Mancos Hotel and Cafe, and his bar was like a half block down in downtown. It wasn't a very big town. And when I was 8, my grandpa was actually murdered in that bar in a botched robbery. And so I began to realize that my family was like a little bit different. And yet my grandma was like this place that was like heaven on earth, because she moved into a little apartment behind the cafe. And when I would stay with her, which like sometimes was like the whole summer, right? Like mom would just drop me off and come back and get me. I had like unlimited access to everything in the cafe, right? Every morning it was French toast. And lunch was like a hamburger deluxe, which meant it was like with fries and everything. And the buns were like toasted. And then dinner, my favorite was a green chili burrito smothered in this nice hot green chili sauce, and it would just make my face sweat. And I would just eat this stuff every day until I was sick of it, and I'd try some else. And behind the counter was unlimited access to all this candy and gum. And if it wasn't eating candy, I was chewing bubble yum, right? And next to the candy was a soda fountain. Every tooth in my mouth has a filling, right? And she didn't give me money, but she gave me jobs. Like at first it was like, take out the garbage, I'll give you $0.25. So I take out the garbage. Then I was advanced to mopping and sweeping the floors at night. And then I was advanced to washing the dishes. And man, if something wasn't clean, I heard about it, right? And she put Clorox in everything to be safe. But the mop water had to have Clorox to get the grease off the floor. And the dishwater, the rinse water had a little bit of my hands, after 2 days of washing dishes, the skin would just start peeling off, right? And then one summer, I noticed she wasn't renting any rooms in the hotel. And I was like, what's going on? And she's like, I just don't want to hassle with it. And she had like these permanent residents up there, like these old guys that would just go to the bar all day and then come back and get a hot green chili, get a green chili burrito and then go to bed. And she had these residents, but the rest of the rooms were empty. So she let me, at 15, manage the hotel. It was awesome. And I got it all cleaned up and I did all the beds. And then she said, now when the people come in, if they look like they can afford it, charge a little bit more and you can keep the extra. And I couldn't do it. I realized I was never going to be a businessman, because I look at people and I go, I don't know if they can afford it. And I can never tell them the $2 room was actually $5 and I would keep the extra $3, right? This is in the 70s, so the most expensive room was like $10 or $12. But I began to pick up this vibe from my grandma that, she was like 5'6", and I had this sense that everybody knew to be afraid of her. Okay? She would tell me these stories about growing up in Oklahoma, and when she told me this story, she would just randomly, I don't know, she wanted me to know this stuff. She says, when I was in Oklahoma, we had this still, and I put on this guy's boots to take care of the still. And when they busted it up, they found his boot prints. And he's actually the one that got in trouble, because I was wearing his boots. And then my grandpa, I think, actually went to prison, did a little time for bootlegging, and they moved from Oklahoma to get away from all that. She said, if the guy that murdered Grandpa ever gets out of prison, you better watch out, because Grandpa's friends are going to come find him. There was just this sense of, who are we? And so one night, this gun goes off, and everybody in the cafe hears this gunshot, and we run back there, and my grandma was cleaning her 30-06 and didn't realize there was a bullet in the chamber. She saw a hole through the floor. And I realized, my stepdad would beat up my mom, and I think it was sort of, well, your mom's an adult, she got herself in that mess. But I think my stepdads knew if they messed with me, they were going to deal with my grandma. And so through all the crap I dealt with, my stepdads never ever touched me or my brother or my sister. So one other thing, my grandma was also like superstitious in like weird ways. She had the black cat come across her path, but one time we left and came back, and she freaked out because we were supposed to have gone. And when we showed back up, she said, "Everybody get out of the car." And I thought she was messing with us. We had to get out of the car and draw crosses in the dirt and spit in the eye of the cross. Like she had these weird, oaky, I don't know, it was like Appalachian, I don't know, it was just weird stuff. And she had survived polio as a kid, so she walked with this limp. So imagine this wiry woman walking with this limp, and just imagine her showing up with this rifle, and she's going to take care of business, right? So one night, she gets all dressed up. We're going to go to Farmington to play bingo. And when she'd get dressed up, she'd put on really bright red lipstick. So she'd be driving to Farmington. We were driving to Farmington. She's got this little Virginia Slim cigarette stuck between her fingers, that little ring of red lipstick around the base, and that mixture of cigarette smoke and perfume in the car, right? And I was reminded of right, my grandma always had these big Oldsmobile automobiles, right? Back then, the engines were measured in how many cubic inches. So she had like 350, 400 cubic inch Oldsmobiles, right? And the car was sold, it had like a bench in the front instead of 2 seats, it was back then. And she would drive me home sometimes, and she'd say, "I'm gonna teach you how to drive fast." And so she would take me on the back roads, and where there were no police, it would be on these dirt roads. I just imagine her bootlegging days, right? And she goes, "Now we're gonna go into this curve. Now watch how I slow down as we enter the curve. But once we are starting to leave, as we're getting out of there, we want to accelerate out of the turn." So we would fishtail out of these turns and fly down these dirt roads, and she'd be like, "Yeah, of course you don't need to be telling Mom about it." So we're headed over to bingo, and bingo ends, and it's about 11:30, and we're leaving Farmington, and my mom doesn't live there anymore. She's moved out. And we're headed back to Mancos from Farmington, and you cross the state line, and so there's no patrol out on this road. You're out in the middle of nowhere, right? And as we leave Farmington late at night, we actually notice there's a car behind us. Before I tell you this, I have to go back and say one thing I forgot. There was a room in the hotel where she kept stuff of people that couldn't pay the bill. And she let me go through this stuff, and that the idea was she'd just keep it till people paid their bill. And if they didn't come back, it was hers. And so she let me go through that. And I still have a sweater, but this one other thing about my grandma, there was this paint by numbers in this closet. It was like 2 feet by 3 feet. And it was of a nude woman. And just the top half. But it was like a woman, it was like an artistic paint by numbers of a nude woman. And she let me paint this all summer. And it was like sitting in her living room, and I was like working on it so hard. I was like, man, I gotta get this paint by numbers right. And she would bring people from the cafe to look at my progress and see how I was making progress. And when my mom came to pick me up that summer, she ripped it up in front of me, and she broke the Cheech and Chong record she let me buy that summer. And so, I wouldn't normally go back and say part, but I just had to tell you that little piece about my mom. So we're driving back from Farmington. We notice this car is behind us, and we're just driving along chatting, and the cook and me in the middle of her, and we get out in the middle of nowhere, and all of a sudden, when we're out in the middle of nowhere, the car just flies by us. And it gets about a half a mile ahead, and the brake lights come on. And we catch up to it pretty fast. And when we come to a stop to kind of see if they're okay, if they need help, their reverse lights come on, and they back right up to the car. And it's this big old station wagon. And as they come to a stop, the doors on the back open up, and like 8 or 9 people pile out of this car. And my grandma goes, "Lock the doors." And these people just are surrounding the car. It's like in a zombie movie with the headlights shining, and they're just looking at us through the window. And then the driver comes pushing his way through everybody, and he reaches over and he grabs the door of my grandma's car, and he yanks so hard you can feel the car move. And when he realizes it's locked, his face just twists in rage. And I recognize that face. It was the same look my stepdad would get when he was like in a drunken, insane rage. And I thought, he's gonna kill us. And when he couldn't get through the door, he opens up his hand and he slaps the window as hard as he can. And when it doesn't break, he runs off to the side of the road. And at that point, my grandma slams it in reverse, and she peels out in reverse. Doesn't even look behind her. Screeches to a halt. Puts it in drive, peels out again, and man, people are just diving out of the way, and she flies by this car. And I turn around in my seat to look, and everybody's diving into this station wagon, and she's going like 100 miles an hour. I mean, she is just flying, and their headlights are fading away, and there's no way those 8 or 9 people in that old station wagon is going to catch her at this Oldsmobile. And they get away. The next day, the sheriff comes over, and they're out there looking for where the rocks are. As we flew by the car, you could hear all these little rocks hitting the car, and they're looking for the dam, and there wasn't any. And I realized they were never going to find this guy, and it didn't matter because, you know, growing up, everybody needs somebody where they can feel safe and protected.